Hey, everybody. I've been led to convey a message for some time now. I've been putting it off for a long time, years. Anyway, keeps coming back around, and I keep getting the tap on the shoulder. Now's the time. So I'm going to talk briefly about spiritual abuse and spiritual manipulation. And what came into me earlier today is that this is really, really important that we talk about this and shine a light on it because so many people are just now beginning to awaken. So there's a lot of people that didn't really realize that they had a spiritual aspect to them. And so a lot of these people are going to be looking outside of themselves for guidance. And one of the things is that keeps coming in is that spiritual leaders and gurus and romantic interests and this whole twin flame thing, right? We are all on our own journey. And we are each sovereign. But as you start your awakening process, you begin by looking at people, other spiritual beings, and you're like, wow, okay, I can learn from them. You know, you begin to admire them and perhaps even put them on a pedestal because you feel like they are further along on their journey, which may or may not be the case because we all have our own journey. I guess what I've realized in my time is that this is all a process of discernment. And to say that just because somebody is a spiritual leader and they have a whole bunch of people following them, and they have a whole bunch of people that admire them, and they have lots of fans, doesn't mean that they necessarily have everybody's best interest at heart. And that you have to decide for yourself if they do. So what I've noticed on my journey, I've come across this a few times, is that anybody that where you're left doubting yourself, any conversation, any session, even with a healer or a reader, that leaves you doubting yourself and unsure, that should be a red flag. Anybody that is trying to get you to keep coming back to them, like they keep wanting to schedule, yeah, you need another session for this. It's almost like they're placing breadcrumbs just right back to them every time. Right? Or they say that they are the master at whatever it is that they do. Right? There's a lot of us that can help with a lot of things. But when it becomes an ego thing and it becomes a control thing for a lot of these spiritual leader, guru types, and even romantic relationships, right? Where they just want to be the only thing that you're looking toward for your own growth. Anytime there is doubt placed, I don't even know how else to say it. If you're beginning to doubt yourself, it's time to really take a good look inside at what's happening. Yeah, a lot of these people will tell you that you really need external guidance. You're new. I know a lot about this, so, schedule an appointment with me. This is hard for me to talk about because we can benefit from an external perspective from time to time, but we don't necessarily need it. But what I'm talking about is when you get to know somebody, whether it be through, sessions that you have with them or through a romantic relationship. They get to know you. They know your inner wounding. And then they turn it on you in a spiritual way. And for example, I have a client who was recently targeted in a very similar way by a spiritual leader who told her that if she talked about their conversations, that he would know, that his guides would let him know, and then he would retaliate energetically. So this goes the same for any abuse, right? If you're being told to keep quiet, if you're being told not to seek or discuss your conversations with other people, red flag, both of those things, right? And for me, with my relationship, my romantic relationship that turned bad, at that time, my partner didn't want me to talk about any of our relationship with anyone else. He wanted me to come to him only for spiritual guidance. Anytime anybody wants you to only go to them, red flag, red flag, red flag. So just as there is physical abuse and sexual abuse, there is spiritual abuse as well. In the whole twin flame thing, right, there's this idea that you have one person that is your twin flame and that they are a mirror for you. I get that. But if you, like in my case, I was just feeling like it wasn't really working anymore. It was more, with scales, it was heavier than it was lighter. And I was feeling like it was time to leave. And of course, this whole thing came in about, I just didn't want to look at myself. And, I needed to stay with him because, he was my twin and he knew better than I did about me. Anytime anybody says that to you, red flag. I would consider making distance immediately. And although we do have a lot of wounding that is below our level of consciousness, conscious awareness, if somebody is telling you in that way that you need them, that's alarming. Anytime that you are spending time with anybody or in session or having readings done and you are doubting yourself, that's not good. That is not what sessions are supposed to be about. Do not doubt yourself. So there's this other part, and it has to do with sexuality. And as we know, sexuality is creative power. And so some of these spiritual leaders and gurus will use sexuality and sex with you in the creative process. They will actually take your energy. And in my case, I didn't even know what was happening until I looked back. I had friends that were like, "Are you okay? You seem really depleted." And I was like, "Oh, everything is good." I mean, let me tell you, things were red hot, wonderful at times. But looking back at pictures, I was seriously wasting away. It's important to have friends that will tell you, "Hey, does that really seem right?" So yeah, be careful with your creative energy. Be careful with your sexual energy. For sure, right? There are different magics that can be used against you. And yes, we are sovereign, but when we give permission for that, that can happen. Our energy can be used unbeknownst to us. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that this aspect of control. So people in general that aren't doing their own work, looking inside at their own wounding, their deep wounding, they tend to want to control everything around them. And so, in a recent experience, anybody that's trying to control what people are saying, even, if you notice you have a friend and they keep deleting what you put on their page. Yes, it's their page, but it's kind of like, red flag, what's going on? Well, there are groups like this too, where there are spiritual leaders that just delete what people want to put there. control is a serious issue. You were not meant to be here to be controlled. You are breaking free from control. You are rediscovering your sovereignty and your divinity. And this idea that these spiritual leaders can turn on you in an energetic way can be scary. But you do have an indicator inside of you, and it's your intuition. And above all else, trust it. Trust that little voice inside of you that says, wow, this doesn't feel good. And if that's happening, I say stop, make distance, and look inside. Look inside at yourself. Look inside at your own wounding. Why would you be calling this in? For me, it was about discernment. It was about understanding that nobody knows me better than I know myself. And perhaps that's the journey that you're on as well. So I'm hoping that nobody else has to put in 18 months into a relationship before realizing it. Right? We all learn in our own time. But I was all bought in hook, line, and sinker to this idea of love. And it was not unconditional, regardless of how many times I was told it was. Do not allow yourself to be controlled. If you are feeling like you are being spiritually manipulated, reach out to somebody. There are people out here that can help you. And you'll feel that they can help you by whatever is in your heart. But the first thing to do is to cut ties, to make space between the person that is doing that and you, so that you can find your sovereignty again, your own voice. You can hear your own voice, and you can feel the divine channel within you about what is true. I'm doing this because I'm really hoping that this helps somebody. I looked on YouTube and there really are no videos on this that don't have to do with a Christian church, which I thought was interesting. I know that there are other people that have come out against gurus for a very similar thing, but this is just spiritual community stuff. Not everybody's going to have your best and highest good in mind, even if they say they do. They all have their own baggage. Perhaps they just want to spend time with you. Or in my case, wanted to, move into my house and be part of my family and be taken care of. And for others, it's just a matter of control. So reach out if you're going through this. If this video resonated with you in any way, please let me know. Let me know. This is really hard for me to talk about. And of course, I'm not going to mention any names. There's no point. There's no point. We are all on our own journeys. And I do see that everybody is playing a role. And a lot of my situation, the others were playing a role that I needed to finally find my own sovereignty and my own voice, and to really develop a refinement around my own discernment. But I'm hoping that by seeing this, maybe you won't have to spend so much time in that. All right, I'm sending you all love. Reach out if you need help. Bye.